What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about Star Wars. This podcast episode will be coming out on May 4th, which has become synonymous with fans of Star Wars because of the phrase, "May the Force be with you," and it's also known as Star Wars Day. And to celebrate this fact, I am going to rank the 9 episodes of the Skywalker saga, so that means no one-offs, just the 9 main movies. And before I start, I just want to say this is my personal preference and should not be taken that seriously. For prep, I rewatched these movies, and this is what I came up with when it came to my own personal rankings. Okay, let's start with number 9, my least favorite of the 9 Star Wars movies, which is 1999's The Phantom Menace. To give you some context of the time, at its release, there had not been a Star Wars movie since 1983, so expectations were sky high, and to say the movie didn't reach them is a massive understatement. Before I knock this movie, I will say something nice. It's the best looking movie of the prequel trilogy. The pod racing scene looks incredible. The new planets are cool. I believe the biggest issue with this movie isn't Jar Jar Binks. It's the fact that it's an origin story for these iconic characters. It's the prequel film that suffers the most being a prequel. It's no coincidence that the most interesting characters in the movie are the new ones. Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, and the mysterious Darth Maul, who, even though he's underdeveloped, is an interesting character. Absolutely no one's favorite part of this movie is what is going on with the already established Obi-Wan and Anakin, who I might add are the most pivotal figures of the movie. Even if you're not in total agreement with me that The Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars movie, you have to admit it's the most disappointing one. At number 8, you have 2019's The Rise of Skywalker. If Phantom Menace was supposed to be a great beginning, this film was supposed to be a grand finale. I believe director J.J. Abrams was in an unwinnable position. There were half of the fans who wanted the same nostalgia feeling from Force Awakens, and the other half wanted the new direction The Last Jedi was taking the franchise. What I hate most is what most people hate: the fake death of Chewbacca. The scene I do love is when Han Solo comes back to visit Kylo Ren. I have to say this though, I do find the final arc of the character of Kylo Ren to be super annoying, because that movie wants Kylo Ren to get a redemption arc, but then ends up killing the character anyway. Like, take that character in a different direction instead of doing exactly what you did with Darth Vader. Show some originality. I think people would have respected that movie more if Kylo Ren got to kiss Rey and got to keep his life, but killing him anyway was uninspiring to me. And I don't even really want to go down the whole rabbit hole of talking about Palpatine's return or the fact that Rey ends up being a Skywalker. I find all of that to be complete nonsense. Yes, I think a fair critique of this movie is that it was trying to please everyone, and in doing so, it pleased almost no one. Number 7 on my list is 2002's Attack of the Clones. Many may say I'm putting this movie way too high. It's probably the Star Wars movie I've seen the most. Yeah, the romantic elements between Anakin and Padme is beyond lame, but I very much like Count Dooku as a villain, and the Clone Army stuff is more than decent. I think it's just way more ambitious movie than, say, The Phantom Menace. Having just rewatched it, one of the best segments is when Anakin goes back to Tatooine to visit his mother. That and the final battle is when the relationship between Skywalker and Amidala is at the very least bearable to witness as an audience member. Most people's problem with this one is the look of the movie, and yes, it's complete CGI garbage at times, but I find it to be an entertaining movie most of the time. But yeah, there are moments when watching this movie where I'm like, I really wish I didn't like this movie as much as I like this movie. But me liking this movie has everything to do with when I was growing up. I mean, this came out in 2002. I was 8 years old. I was all in on this movie at one point. I thought it was great. Now, I no longer view it as a great movie, but I still find it to be fun and entertaining, and it reminds me of my childhood. So yeah, I'm going to defend this movie, and the same thing goes for this next movie. Number 6 is the prequel movie I will defend the most. And that's 2005's Revenge of the Sith. Hayden Christensen is much improved as Anakin Skywalker, and Natalie Portman gives her best performance as Padme. And sorry if I find the lava battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin to be cool. My main issue is with how Padme dies. I think it's lame, and the character deserves better. I know a lot of people would put the three prequels as the three worst movies. I would not. And again, that has to do with when I was a child was when these movies were coming out. So yes, I will defend them. I still revisit them probably every 2 years or so. I'm like, yeah, I want to rewatch the prequels, and while I'm watching them, I go, I hope I end up liking them even more than I like them now. The only prequel movie I will admit to you that I believe is bad is The Phantom Menace. The other two, I will defend till the end. And if you're listening to this and you really do have mixed feelings on the prequels, then I would tell you this: I don't know if there's a world where those movies would be any better. I mean, it is really hard to be viewed as a successful prequel, especially when we are talking about the most popular movie franchise of all time, Star Wars. These movies were never going to live up to the hype and the expectations of what we wanted them to be. The last thing I'll say about the prequel trilogy before I move on to the next movie on the list is this: I do wonder what would have happened if George Lucas immediately made the prequels after Return of the Jedi, because it's clear to anyone who watches the prequel trilogy that he became obsessed with the technological advancement in films with the CGI. But if he made those movies, let's say, in the early 90s, I guess what I'm wondering is, would he have made the movies in a completely different way if he had made them earlier instead of waiting 15 years? The answer is, we'll never know. That gets us to the top 5 Star Wars movies, and at number 5 is a movie that people have strong feelings about: 2017's The Last Jedi. Modern fandom has never been more divided on a single film. Here's where I'm at. I think it is a very good movie, not a great movie. I just find the Snoke moment to be a bit underwhelming, but the connection between Rey and Kylo is endlessly compelling. The character arc that most people are bothered by in this film is that of Luke Skywalker. They don't like that he's become a jaded hermit, and while I don't find him all that interesting in this, it doesn't bother me. Although I wasn't a kid when the original films came out. When you alter a character with this much history, you are going to get an extreme response from fans. This is the movie where I started to feel a real divide between Star Wars fans. Like, it felt like most of us were all in agreement. The original trilogies were masterpieces. The prequels were flawed, but we'll watch them. Force Awakens was really good. It revamped the franchise. But then in comes The Last Jedi, and it feels like so many people have so many different opinions when it comes to this movie. There are people who really do believe this is the best Star Wars movie ever made. And there are people who didn't really love Star Wars that came to love the franchise because of this movie. And I kind of respect that fact. My opinion has always been, I don't think it's all that effective as a sequel to The Force Awakens. There's no real connection between that movie and this one, and that's the big problem. That's when the franchise starts to become disconnected, and that's why The Rise of Skywalker is so low on my list, because it's also disconnected from those two movies. That is the biggest issue of the sequel trilogy, is that those three movies do not feel like a trilogy. They feel like three separate movies that just happen to star the same actors. And I know some people feel that way about the prequel trilogy. I feel more that way about the sequel trilogy, that it's so disconnected. It's two directors in Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams who wanted to take the franchise in completely different directions, and that would have been okay if it was their trilogies, but they were making the same trilogy. Number 4 on my Star Wars movie rankings is 1983's Return of the Jedi, which I will admit is not a perfect movie, but man, do I love the beginning of this film with Luke Skywalker going back to Tatooine to become the coolest Jedi ever. Everything at Jabba's palace is pure perfection, and his final bout with the Emperor is great. It's the middle part with the Ewoks I don't love, but that's the 80s. What are you going to do? It's sometimes unfairly judged because it's not as good as the prior Star Wars movie. It's also really hard to be the final movie of a trilogy. I mean, almost no one's favorite movie of a trilogy is the third movie. It's usually either the first movie or the second movie, because fans are never in agreement on how a story should end. Also, yeah, was it kind of lazy to bring back the Death Star? Absolutely. I mean, we already did that. Come up with something new. What I find special about this movie is that Luke Skywalker is the coolest character in it, and that's not the case with the first two movies. You're like, yeah, this guy is the main protagonist, but he's kind of lame at times, and that's never the case in Return of the Jedi. He is the best character in that movie. He's better than Han Solo in that movie. He's better than Darth Vader in that movie. Everything that's happening with Luke Skywalker in that movie is awesome. We are now down to the final 3 movies of my Star Wars movie rankings, and this might be the most controversial pick. Coming in at number 3 is 1977's A New Hope, or as it was originally called, Star Wars. And don't take its ranking as an insult. This movie is a masterpiece. The world building here is unreal. It's simple and complicated at the same time. The lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader still holds up after all these years. This is where my list just comes down to preference. Like, I don't view this as the most entertaining Star Wars movie to watch. Yes, Han Solo is awesome in this movie. I like the fact that he is questioning Obi-Wan on the Force. That's the thing that kind of makes him the cool character of the movie, because he gets to be the one who goes, "What are you talking about, old man? You sound insane." A New Hope is just an easy movie to follow plot-wise. I mean, here's this guy in Luke Skywalker who's teaming up with Obi-Wan to save a princess, and it had me thinking, why wasn't Phantom Menace this simple? Why wasn't that movie just, they have to go to Naboo to save Princess Amidala? That should have been that entire movie. I mean, George Lucas used to be really good at telling a simple story, and that's exactly what he did with A New Hope. It was only later that he started to complicate things with The Phantom Menace. I do think it's really cool that Alec Guinness is the only actor who's been nominated for an Oscar for a Star Wars movie, although I do believe there have been other performances in the movies that deserve to be nominated as well. Number 2 on my Star Wars movie ranking is none other than 2015's The Force Awakens. This is the Star Wars movie I like more and more after every rewatch. Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley give 2 of my favorite performances, and here's a hot take, if you will. This is the best acted Star Wars movie. This movie is what The Phantom Menace was supposed to be, a film that revived Star Wars. I don't buy the it's the same movie as A New Hope argument. It's not. Yes, it clearly uses nostalgia, but its newer elements are what excites me most. And I have to give praise to the Han Solo death scene. I mean, for years and years, Harrison Ford talked about wanting to kill off the character of Han Solo, and boy did he get a great death scene. What else is there in this movie? Oh yeah, there's also a crazy cool snow lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo Ren. Finn and Poe were also really good additions to the franchise as well. I mean, I just love this movie. I can't deny it. I don't know if I like this movie more than most people. I probably do. I don't know how many people would say they like Force Awakens better than A New Hope, but I am who I am. I can't deny that fact. I would rather watch Force Awakens any day of the week before I rewatched A New Hope. That's just who I am as a human being right now, and I don't think that opinion is going to change. So I would be lying if I put A New Hope ahead of Force Awakens. So I'm telling you the truth. I believe Star Wars The Force Awakens is a better Star Wars movie. It's like what I was saying earlier. There are people that overpraise The Last Jedi. Maybe I am overpraising The Force Awakens, but I was completely blown away by this movie the very first time I saw it, and every time it's on TV, I have to watch this movie. I also think I'm just way higher on J.J. Abrams as a director than most people are. I mean, he successfully brought back Star Trek and Star Wars, and this take might really anger some people, but I do believe the sequel trilogy would have been more successful if he was at the helm of all three films. And I don't mean that to slight Rian Johnson. I did put The Last Jedi number 5 on this list. I do like that movie. I just like The Force Awakens a whole lot better. For one reason being that it improved on elements that Star Wars was trying out in the past, like having an emo villain. I mean, people criticize Hayden Christensen as the big bad in Revenge of the Sith. They don't buy the fact that this overly emotional guy is going to turn out to be Darth Vader. That is never in question with Adam Driver's portrayal of Kylo Ren. You believe that he is a deeply troubled, moody guy, but you also buy him as the big bad of the movie. I really do believe that Adam Driver should have been given an Oscar nomination for his work as Kylo Ren in Star Wars The Force Awakens. My number one Star Wars movie is an obvious choice. It's 1980's The Empire Strikes Back. It's the movie sequel that every modern sequel is trying to be, darker than the first with a huge surprising turn. It adds new fan favorite characters like Lando and Yoda and gives you the iconic I am your father moment that changed movies forever. For as much as I like the other movies of this franchise, I don't believe they even come close to being as good as The Empire Strikes Back. You have that incredible beginning on the planet Hoth, where Han saves Luke Skywalker's life. You have Yoda teaching Luke how to become a Jedi, and then he too early goes into battle with Darth Vader, and then we all know what happens after that. For as good as the first Star Wars movie was, it doesn't become the dominant franchise it is today without this movie. This is the movie that makes Star Wars what it is. Very few sequels shock you in the way that this sequel shocked audiences the first time they saw it. And I don't love the fact that my list is ending with the obvious choice, but I can't deny how great I believe this movie to be. Making Darth Vader Luke's father is one of the best choices in movie history, and it will most likely never be duplicated. I mean, when was the last time a franchise made a choice so bold and it paid off so big? So there you have it, my personal ranking of the 9 Star Wars movies that consist of the Skywalker saga, and I don't know how most people are going to feel about this list. Is this the consensus list? I don't think so. I don't think most people would have The Force Awakens as the number 2 Star Wars movie of all time. I don't know if it would even make most people's top 5. I do believe one of the most fascinating things about Star Wars is there is no consensus rankings of these movies. We all have our own different opinions and preferences when it comes to these movies, and it also has to do with when we were growing up watching these movies. Some of us were growing up with the original trilogy. I myself grew up with the prequel trilogy. Some people have grown up with the sequel trilogy. Maybe you can tell based on listening to this podcast, I do believe Star Wars as a franchise has been more consistent than most people give it credit for being. Yes, are there a few flawed movies in this franchise? Absolutely. And yes, at times it does feel like this is a franchise that lacks a clear direction. But I will always find these movies to be interesting artifacts of pop culture. Everyone has seen these movies and everyone has an opinion on them. One final time, here's my rankings of the 9 main Star Wars movies. At number 9, The Phantom Menace. At number 8, The Rise of Skywalker. At number 7, Attack of the Clones. At number 6, Revenge of the Sith. At number 5, The Last Jedi. At number 4, Return of the Jedi. At number 3, A New Hope. At number 2, The Force Awakens. And at number 1, The Empire Strikes Back. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So please rate, review, and subscribe.